Okay, this is PFAFF 92 from Germany. The model 92 is pretty similar to model 90. This bobbing winding area has some slight differences between these models, even though I've seen models that are 90 to have this same bobbing winder as 92. I'm not sure if I have seen the 92 model with a similar than the 90. You can Google and see the picture. It doesn't have this lever here which attaches this bobbing winder wheel to the hand wheel. This is otherwise stock machine. The things that have been changed is that this lever here, the needle position lever, had been modified because the original one broke, and this is made out of epoxy mass, like the paddy, like you can mold it with your hands. I drilled a hole in the part which was left from the broken lever. Drilled hole through it and put a couple of sewing needles. This was supposed that in my mind this should have looked nice, but this is my design and art. So it has two sewing needles, and also this part here, I don't know if you can see it, has some epoxy here because half of it broke off. Also, this is brand new and it's attached with the epoxy. I think the one that this came with has only 2 holes, if I'm correct, but this has 3. It doesn't matter. The 3-hole version is even better for this because this supports, if I'm correct, yes, this supports 2-thread sewing. So you can have 2 spools of thread here on top of the sewing machine, and now you have better routing of the thread. And now I thread the machine and do some sample stitches. I have the bobbing here, the lower thread. You can see if I can focus here. I think here is not enough light, but here is a groove. And the thread should go the same way as the groove. Sorry for the problem with the focus. No, anyway, here maybe you can see. So the thread goes to the same way as the groove. And you can just pull the thread forward and make sure it goes to the under the small piece of spring metal. Then you just push here, push upwards, and this comes off. If this part comes off so that you have to use too much pressure, you can loosen this screws and move this piece that tightens this flat piece, this spring metal pieces goes under the cast metal body. So by moving this forward or backward you can adjust the tightness of this plate. But now I have removed it, and here in the middle of bobbin there is a hole, and this lever opens. There's a sliding mechanism, and there is a like a catch or some sort of locking mechanisms here, and it keeps the bobbin at its place. Sometimes if it's well cleaned and lubricated, you can just press it in, but if you have bobbin that is a little bit stiff or stuck, then you might need to use the lever to get it in. But every time you take it off, you need to use the lever, because in the there's a stud that goes through the hole, and it locks to it, so you cannot pull it with the force. Or you can, but you break the bobbin case and maybe your whole sewing machine. So it's hard to show, but just put the stud in the middle and keep the bobbin like parallel. In the hook mechanism there's a small hole in the right side, so it aligns with the bobbin. You can maybe see it or maybe not, but if you have the same machine you can see that it can only go there one way. Let's see if it's, no, it wasn't locked, so I lift the lever a little bit and pressed it in. I have opened the bobbin case completely and cleaned it, so I could have just pressed it in, but I chose to use the lever to get it in more easily. Here's a little bit of dust on top of this plate. I can see it in the light. Otherwise this is pretty clean, but maybe a little bit of dust. Let's see if this is still recording. Yes, it is. And now we have red lower thread, so maybe we can choose something with a different color so we can see the stitch a bit better. If you have the needle thread and the bobbin, so the lower thread, are same color, then you cannot adjust it as easily because it's harder to see which thread pulls more. And also you might consider, or at least I like to have the both at least close to the same thickness. This light blue is approximately same thickness and nice bright color. So I have done this threading quite a few times, but from the last time there's a little bit of time before I did it. So I can't remember how this part was made correctly. Maybe if I remember correctly, there was some. Yes, I've seen few ways to do it, but the way I have done it previously included going around this edge, so from the right to the left, then not straight back from the lower hole, but go around here, like, no, you can see, or maybe you cannot. But I will talk more later, because if the stitch is not forming correctly, then you can try other ways of doing this. But this is how I do it, so it spirals one round here. So from the left of the middle hole, or if you have only two holes, the upper hole, then one spiral around the metal thing and through the lower hole. And then here in this machine I have the 3 discs, so there's 2 spots, like places in between those 3 plates. So if I have 3 post-it notes. There's 2 places that I can put the thread. So either here or here. So if I use 2 threads to sew, so here and here, then I could use both of the between areas. But now I only choose one. And as I know, it doesn't matter which one you use. So I just chose this time the which is closer to me. Then I pull it up, and there is a catch, like metal piece which is like this, and also there's a spring. So you need to pull the spring with this thread as long as it gets over the catch. And if the spring is tight enough, it will not go over this metal piece. And then you need to hold the thread spool here or the thread here, so you can pull it hard enough, and then the thread goes above the edge of the catch. And now it pulls nicely between these thread tensioner plates, which are between the frame and the thread tension knob. And here you put it through this hole. And most of the sewing machines I've been using have also thread guide here, but this doesn't. And first I was thinking that why it doesn't have it. Maybe it's lost or broken off or something, but as far as I've searched Google pictures and gone through the pictures, none of these PFAFF 92 machines have it. So, and it works without it. So after that I haven't been bothering about that. And then the final place was right above the needle here. And the final step, I licked the thread to reduce make the cut cleaner, so there's no excess threads that go wide. So I want the tip to be as narrow as possible, so it's easier to go through the hole of the needle. Now I put it through the hole of the needle, and it's hard because the light and the camera and the angle which I'm in, yeah, and I use this other hand to secure the thread while I pull it through the hole, because if I don't, it might get stuck somewhere. And now I turn the hand wheel for catching the lower thread with the upper thread. So I use this upper thread to catch the lower thread, like this. And the lower thread came up. Now I have the both threads, and I put the threads through the middle of the pressure feet or foot and pull them backwards. Now the threads are back of the machine there, and I can close this plate. I have connected the power. Here is the lever to adjust the zigzag width. So in the 0 position it's straight stitch, and this is the needle position. This is the stitch length, and this is the reverse. So I have to adjust the tension of this upper thread. If I remember correctly, the lower thread, I haven't touched it after I adjusted it last time. But the thing is that how you adjust the thread tension of the lower thread is that to get to the base level. Of course, if you have very thin or very thick material that you saw through, then you might consider making some adjustments to the lower thread tension. But you have the bobbin inside of the bobbin case, threaded how it should be, so through the small opening in the bobbin case and under the spring metal piece, and then you pull this thread and without holding the bobbin case, and if it drops to the floor or drops very easily, then you need to tighten the screw in there's two screws normally. The other one holds the spring steel and the other one is for tightening and loosening it. So normally the screw that is closer to the thread is the screw for adjusting it. And you want it not so tight that it doesn't move at all, but not so that it just drops down. You want it so that if you make this kind of movement, it drops a little bit. That's just easy and dirty way of getting to in a close enough area of tightness of the lower thread. So I assume that it's still okay, and only thing that we have to worry about is this at the moment. Let's see. This is some scrap fabric that I have laying around. You can see through it. It's not very thin. It's actually pretty thick, but the threads go very loosely, so there's light going through because of that, but the thickness is pretty thick. So it might not make the prettiest stitch, because when the fabric is tighter, so that strings of the fabric are closer to each other, the hole that the needle punctures shows as a smaller hole. This kind of fabric which has loose threads, so the lines of the threads are loose. So when you puncture through the middle of the threads, it makes a wider hole and it doesn't look so nice, but you get the idea. And let's, here behind the arm of the sewing machine, here is a lever for the pressure foot. There's only one lever if I remember correctly, so you will find it. And let's see how this performs. I have pretty short stitch length, so 1.5 whatever it is, but 1.5 in a scale of between 0 and 4. So 1.5, let's start from there. And here under the hand wheel there is a lever that engage or disengage the motor, so make sure it's fully engaged. The whole video shakes because of the cardboard material table. The table is from IKEA and it's honeycomb shaped cardboard, and if I do it even like this, the whole table, the camera and the lights, everything shake. I hate this table, but at the moment I have so many projects going on and purchasing a table and making time for getting the table from a second-hand shop or some private person who sells it internet second-hand web page or buying a new table from a shop, which is too expensive for my current budget. I don't have the time and energy and not definitely the money to purchase new quality work table. I think they cost multiple hundreds of dollars and euros. Dollars or euros. At the moment the dollar and euro is pretty close to each other. So it doesn't matter which currency I say. So let's see. This is the stitch. If I move the light a little bit. I think it's a beautiful stitch. It pulls the red one from the bottom a little bit. As it should. It should meet in the middle, but the fabric is not so thick that it would stay in the middle. If the fabric is very thick, the lower and upper thread could interfere with each other in the middle of the fabric. You wouldn't see the interference point. But when you have thin, even though it's not so thin, it's pretty thick, but not thick enough to not show the other color. And here you can see also just a little bit of the blue one. Maybe you can see it or maybe not. But the point is you have to see even amount of both. So maybe this knob was where it should be, so I haven't touched this either. But as I go through the zigzag stitches, it affects to the needed tension. So I assume that I need to adjust this as I lengthen the stitch length or widen the stitch width. But as for 1.5 length of the stitch and straight stitch, it looks good in my opinion. The only problem is the shaking table. And remember to pull the threads back here. I cut them because it's easier to maneuver the fabric after cutting the loose threads. So I pull them back. Let's see if this is still recording. Yes. I cut the excess thread here, like this. And I put these to the trash bin. I don't want my baby to eat these. He might suffocate or something. And now let's try still straight stitch but longer stitch length. So it's 4. The stitch length is 4. Here is the red dot here, and it should outline the number you want to have as your stitch length. And I don't know what it refers to. Maybe it's millimeters, maybe it's something else. But that I can say it's number 4. And remember, these strings has to be here, threads. As you can see, it goes much faster because it makes less stitches. And does it have, I can't remember if this has some sewing machines has, back of the machine there is a cutting blade. I can't remember if this has cutting blade or not, but I got the threads with this scissors. I like these scissors. These are from AliExpress. The brand is, Pin, P-E-N, and these have even the hollow part here to reduce the friction, and here you can adjust the tension of the blades. I watched some Indian guy from India. His YouTube videos of reviewing AliExpress and Alibaba scissors, and I didn't understand a word. He had like 10 different scissors that he tested, and I asked in English which are the best, and he said these are the best of the bunch that he tested, and I purchased them for 20 euros shipped to my closest post office. And I'm not a professional by any means in anything else than communications, but in my opinion these are good quality scissors for very low price. You can see the casting marks here, so maybe the process of making these are not the best, but at least the end product pleases me. This cut sharp, this has some weight into it, and this detail of the cutting here, like opening here, and the possibility to adjust the tension are everything I needed. These are sharp, and I use these as I showcase these machines. I don't saw myself as that much, but at least I make these videos and repair and showcase sewing machines. So next we have seen short stitch and long stitch, and let's try different types of zigzags. I mean different width and different length. So let's start from the 1.5. I don't like to showcase the 0 and maybe close to 0, because it's easy to tangle your thread when you have it so close. You need to adjust the pressure foot tension. You have to reduce the pressure foot tension, because when you make lots of stitches in the zigzag stitches in the short length, they tend to create a little bit of hill that your pressure foot have to go on top of it. And if it reduces the effectiveness of the feeding of the fabric to the back, it starts to reduce the going to the forward. I mean, as you saw, I think I go forward even though the fabric goes backwards. And then you start to make stitch on top of the previous stitch, and the stitch length gets shorter and shorter, and then you are stuck. So you need to reduce the pressure foot tension to be able to go above the stitches that are forming close to each other, and it requires a little bit of adjusting the settings, the pressure foot tension and this length of the stitch and everything, and maybe the tension to be able to showcase the machine. I think it's not the... I can get any machine to do it, but it takes some time. If you have all the dials here, it's easy, but if I remember correctly, you need to open this, and maybe this has a screw or something. I can't remember if it has or not. Then you go back and forward, and it takes some time. But to the point, it's the stitch width now, so the zigzag. Let's pull the threads back again. Push the, let's release the pressure foot so it goes down and presses to the fabric, and then we choose the stitch length of 1.5, or maybe just to showcase maybe 1, so it should be pretty close to each other. And now, because we have changed it from straight stitch to wide zigzag, we might need to adjust the tension. Let's see. and if you can't pull the fabric right away under the pressure foot, you might need to wiggle this back and forward just a tiny bit, like this. And then as you pull slightly from the fabric and wiggle this, you feel it's caught somewhere in the bobbing area, and then you feel that it releases. Just hold slight tension to the strings to feel the moment that it releases. Let's see. Okay, here we can see that we need to tighten the upper thread, because the lower thread pulls a lot of the blue upper thread under the fabric. So because of this, we know that the lower thread is in relation to the upper thread. The lower thread is too tight, but because of the lower thread in most cases should have constant thread tension, we adjust the upper thread to be tighter, so that we don't see this much of the blue under the fabric anymore. So the optimum situation when you have very thick fabric is that you don't see the other color on the other side at all. But when you have thin fabric, relatively thin fabric, then if it's not possible to get so that you don't see the other color at all, then the adjustment should be that you can see both colors equally. If you see both colors very much and the fabric starts to go like this in between the zigzag area, then you know that lower bobbin is too tight. Lower thread is too tight. So let's tighten this a little bit. It's now a little bit over 3, so let's make it so that it's closer to 4. Maybe let's try 4. And we don't touch anything else. It's easier to adjust one thing at a time. Then you know what's affecting the stitch. If you try to get a correct type of stitch by adjusting everything at once, then you don't know what made it worse or what made it better. Okay, I can see a lot of red thread. Not a lot, but still some. This might be pretty close. Let's see if this can adjust the light. Okay, it's pretty close to what it should be, so I go through the length of the fabric. And I don't want to have tension on these strings threads when I cut them, because when I cut them and they have tension, they fly everywhere and tangle here. So I pull them first like this and make them loose. I let them go loose, and now they just drop down. Otherwise they would fly here after releasing the tension. Pull the threads back and let's see the fabric. So here, the first one, you can see a lot of blue here, and here only a little bit blue. So this is pretty close to what it should be, but don't just judge the stitch before you have seen the other side as well. So as you can see here you can also see a little bit of red. So previously we didn't see any red. So we know that the previous round, not the current one that we just made, but the previous, no red at all, and this side a lot of blue. So it's too loose upper thread, but here little bit of blue on the bottom side and a little bit of red on the upper side. So it's pretty close. Maybe I could reduce the tension of the upper thread a little bit, because this is cutting hair, but maybe there's more red on this side than there's blue on this side, but it's very hard to judge, and for most cases this would be close enough, because normally you saw with same threaded color in the lower and upper thread, so you wouldn't see this even, because both threads would be same color. But let's try something else. Let's adjust the stitch length as we go, so we can see the range of the... Let's reduce this a little bit. So I reduced it from exactly 4 to maybe 1/10 of the radius of the between the 4 and 3, so now it's like 3.9. Let's try that thing that I said that I normally don't try. But let's start from maybe 0.5 and go upwards as we go. And now, of course, as we change this, and we don't touch this as we go, there might be some inconvenience for us. So we might not see as perfect stitch as we could if we wouldn't change the stitch length as we go. But now we can I can't remember the word, but anyway, we can see the stitch length range that this has, this machine. So this is 0.5. I show you later. I put it even shorter. This is like 0.25. Let's see when it breaks the thread. Okay, it's going well. We have we shouldn't change anything while we have the needle in the fabric. Let's pull it up a little bit. We have seen which maybe we had one. Let's try something longer, like 2, and then we can try the longest. 2.5, and then let's try the longest stitch length. So here is 2, and let's make the longest one, so 4. And now we have gone through everything this machine has to offer, except needle position. It's just having the needle on the left edge of the area that this needle goes through, or in the right corner, but we did everything having the needle in the middle, but it doesn't do other than that. So here we started 0.5, and then we moved to 0.25 approximately. There wasn't a number in that area. 0.5, there is a marking on the wheel which you use for adjusting the stitch length. But in my opinion, here I moved the fabric a little bit, but here it can make pretty short stitch and not have any problems. Here we have the stitch length selector in position 2, and here we have it in the 4. So this is the stitches that this machine can do, and because of it doesn't have belt, it's the machine uses a rubber friction wheel against this hand wheel, so it like transfers the power straight to the hand wheel. It has lots of torque and puncture power through the fabric, so people use these machines to saw through very thick fabrics. This is like one of the more robust domestic machines. Some even have put these machines in industrial tables with industrial motors. I haven't done it, and I cannot say if it's good or bad or whatever, but as this machine is right now, it works well. It's been cleaned, serviced, adjusted and lubricated, and new needle, and this is new. This has been repaired with the epoxy. This thread thing has been repaired with epoxy. And here, yeah, you push it like this. This you use to wind the bobbin. All right. Hey, this can do freehand embroidery, but I haven't done it. I don't know how it's done. I haven't done it on any machine, but this plate which you have here, you can see there's a area that is above this surface. You can switch this plate around 180 degrees, and there is a small hole on top of the area, and the needle punctures through it. But the area that is like, let's see if this maybe I need a screwdriver or something, I can't remember. But anyway, no, I don't need it actually, because there's spring steel holding one stud here, and I need to just lift it upwards pretty hard. So here, now you can see. So this area goes above the feed dogs. So the feed dogs doesn't go down as some modern machines. They work as they work normally, but they don't affect to the fabric, because the fabric goes above this area. Then you can maneuver your fabric on top of that thing. But that's something that I don't know how to do. I've seen YouTube videos, and this video that I make now is not embroidery video. This was showcasing this PFAFF. Of course, I need to make the threads again from this hole, the lower thread. Yeah, and the previous owner that I got this from saw some covers for his sailboats sails, if the sails are the thing that catches the wind and moves the boat. So this is maybe, if I remember correctly, he used this as a marking to where his hem is. This hem, this is probably hemming, if there is a long big fabric, and he made a pretty big hem here. So yeah, if the guy didn't lie to me, which I don't think he didn't, so I think he didn't have any reason to lie to me, this machine is capable of sewing sailboat sail covers from thick fabric. Okay, this is not in the correct position. And sorry if this is making a lot of noise. Of course I need to take this off beforehand. Then I press the stud down. Then I push this front plate back, and now everything is back together. So pretty easy to do. And you have to have everything correctly, otherwise if something is not as I told you guys, it's not making good stitch. But now, maybe this is the thumbnail picture. Yeah, my table is full of scratches. Yeah. But thank you for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing. I will make more camera videos in future. And consider sharing this video to your friends, or if you are in the Facebook groups or some other web page in the groups that are interested in sewing machines, vintage sewing machines and this kind of content. Maybe consider sharing this video and write a comment. Even if you don't have anything to say, just say hi or good video or something. The YouTube algorithm, maybe, I don't know if they listen to these videos, what I say to you guys, but you can figure it out what I mean. Just comment to these videos to help me out. It doesn't cost you a thing and it will help me out. So thank you and have a good day. Bye.